Now this one is actually another popular topic. Titles that the YouTube algorithm really just loves.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
But in this video, I'll summarize the main point of these videos and go over why that advice as is can actually backfire on you. Now, why do you want to look poor? Or why is looking poor important? Some of the key ideas that are shared in these videos is that the truly rich aren't actually very flashy and keep a certain low-key appearance. And to be like them, to be rich, then the message is that you should do the same. And in mind are maybe images of popular Silicon Valley hoodie billionaires, where these millionaires and billionaires are all dressed in hoodies instead of suits. Articles being written about how billionaire Warren Buffett only spent $31,500 on his house, or that he drives a 10-year-old Cadillac. Or this one about Bill Gates.
Mr. Simpson?
You don't look so rich.
Don't let the haircut fool you. I'm exceedingly wealthy.
But in order to be rich, is it a rule or a popularized rumor that you actually have to look poor? Now, why looking poor can actually hurt you? First and foremost, people are judgmental. And in the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, it notes that people have a tendency to make quick judgments and assumptions based on limited information. And we've all known and heard the adage that first impressions matter and are formed within seconds. And usually the first thing people see are appearances, the way you look. These are things such as your physical appearance and other visual cues, including clothing, grooming, and your posture. And usually, looking quote-unquote richer helps your image much more than if you looked completely broke. And take the concept of the halo effect, where individuals who appear well-dressed and polished are perceived as more competent, trustworthy, intelligent, and overall just as better people. On the flip side, those who are poorly dressed or look impoverished are judged as less capable or less reliable. This can affect you in many ways. But first, let's get into the economic consequences of looking poor, how it can affect your wallet and your earnings. So there is a reason why companies spend millions or billions on their product marketing and branding. It's the same for you. In the professional world, appearances can serve as a proxy for competence and ambition. So that's why there's a reason why people stress over what to wear for a job interview, and they try to look professional and nice when they're at the job. There's a reason why law offices look professional and neat, and lawyers are usually in suits. And there's also an incentive to exude wealth in this case, because wealth helps the customer believe that they're successful and that they win cases. Or else they wouldn't be able to afford the nice clothes or large office.
Hey, you! Get out of my office!
There's a reason why doctors emphasize cleanliness and safety as part of their image, because sanitation is actually a really big deal to health, and they know that people don't want to go to a dirty or unsafe clinic where they're going to get infections or other health issues. So looking a certain way or projecting a certain image, whether that's your place of business, the way you dress, the way you style your hair, your physical build, height, and weight, and just overall appearance can actually have a positive impact on your earnings, or a negative one. And in the old primitive days, clothing may have just been here to keep you warm, and there was probably no need for hairspray. But these days, being well groomed and well dressed helps you market yourself and your overall brand. Now, how it can affect you in relationships. Let's start with friendships and networks. If you think back to high school, you remember how there were social groups and cliques. In my generation, we had, let's say, the athletes, the gangsters, the nerds, and the preppy kids. It's still like that in some ways, even as adults, where there's a tendency for people with similar looks and styles to start congregating. So the way you look and the way you present yourself can make the difference when networking in the adult world, whether that's to make friends or to make professional connections. Now let's talk about dating. It's pretty much a no-brainer that your appearance plays a huge role in physical attraction, and physical attraction is a major component for romantic relationships. And most people know this. That's why there's so many videos on this topic on what to wear on a first date. And the first date. Given first impressions, what we already know, most people try to present and dress to impress. in hopes of landing the second date. So if you look unkempt with bad hair and crappy clothes, bad hygiene, unless you have a magical personality, you're probably going to botch the date. But if you have a magical personality and good hair, good clothes, and good hygiene, you'll probably do fine. And then there's also this concept of the matching hypothesis, where people tend to date or marry someone in their own league in terms of social desirability, which goes further than just physical looks, but also encompasses things like your personality, your intelligence, your qualifications, and the list goes on. And there's also consequences to your own mental state and your mentality. Our brains are arguably the most important things about us, even on an evolutionary standpoint, is what separates us from all other living beings on Earth. And as I mentioned earlier, people are judgmental, which if you aren't prepared for it, it can lead to shame, low self-esteem, and other things. If you're making a stark change to your appearance, this shame can come from strangers, coworkers, but also your friends and even your family. Comments like, "When did you become so cheap?" Or "You let yourself go," or "Why don't you ever get your hair done anymore?" Or people avoiding and ostracizing you because they assume there's no value in speaking with you. And this ostracization can reinforce negative self-perceptions, creating a cycle of insecurity and underperformance. And this phenomenon is closely linked to the self-fulfilling prophecy. If society perceives someone as less competent or ambitious due to their appearance, they begin to internalize these beliefs, leading to reduced confidence and diminished aspirations. So over time, this can impact mental health, contributing to anxiety, depression, and feelings of worthlessness. Now, I always like to provide a nuanced perspective and look at things from both sides because I don't believe in absolutes. So this video isn't to say that you should blow all your money on clothes and your appearance even when you're having financial struggles. But if you're choosing to quote unquote appear poor, hoping that that's the secret to getting rich, I'd say it can have its time and place. I've actually made several videos on the opposite side why it's important to look poor, because it can have its own benefits. But it's situational. I don't look top-notch everywhere I go. For example, a quick trip to the store before I head straight back home, or if I'm just picking up parts from a junkyard, or if I'm headed to a place with high crime, then I won't have on jewelry and fancy clothes. Or even for these videos, which are actually somewhat casual for me. But for job interviews, dates, networking events, client meetings, I'll look pretty good because it helps. And for those select billionaires that you hear about on the news that quote unquote look poor, it's their trademark. So let's take Mark Zuckerberg for example, where he wants to portray that he's more casual, more tech focused. Steve Jobs, he was portrayed that he cared more about Apple and tech innovations than his daily wear. It's all strategic and done with thought and with purpose. It's not the same as me choosing to go on a first date in my 10 years old tattered pajamas and bed hair, hoping to land a second date, or me meeting clients in a tank top and boxers. So your appearance matters, but it should be considered strategically whether you dress down or dress up, and utilize that to help you in your goal and your purpose. So that's all I have. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.